really ridiculous within the past 2 years because of Hecate and Upside Down Man, in which they both dog walk him for many reasons. Now, the constant argument I see the present fans try to make is him being the overvoid, him being greater than such, or him not being bound by the collective unconscious, which I destroy in my presence video, and also webcam Parrot has done a good job in debunking some of these myths as well. Now we all know that the presence is the creator of the multiverse from origins of DC/Vertigo comics, and he has three major children known as Lucifer, Michael, and Gabriel. Now the presence created the source which houses everything within it, which he told his sons to go into and create. But later Perpetua was introduced to us as the creator, but what she mainly did was create children, also like the presence, to create things within creation, and they was never shown to affect anything beyond the bleed. So I came to a conclusion of the creation myth, which other good DC scalers agree with. Though Parrot did a video on these before me, but we explained them in different ways, but correct ways. There's this thing about gods and goddesses to the point you can argue Brahma Pralaya is like the female overvoid. But I, for many reasons, place her below, and same thing with Perpetua. She borrows power from something that created the presence, and Pralaya also ranks below something that was created by something that beat her. Simply, the true green is created by the overvoid and beat Pralaya. The overvoid created Hecate, and Hecate birthed not just the other kind, but the dark multiverse, which is where nightmares manifest itself, as Upside Down Man is the archetype of nightmare and rules over the other kind, which is beyond the dark multiverse, which shits on the light multiverse, which is totality, is the source. And this collective unconscious also birthed every god, including the presence, which I won't explain over and over again. Now, the overvoid has infinite creations on it, so anything that exists without a real origin but stands above many does birth from the overvoid, as it owns everything, a story archetype, some Yggdrasil type shit in Marvel. The presence truly isn't omnipotent, as he is also very much limited by the overvoid and has his own cosmic role to play as a creator, bound by his creation but not inherently. He sits above it and exists in it, and his name is written across his creation as Yahweh, in which gives him the concept of God, as he is infinite and eternal, which his creation is synonymous to him. And that's why when Lucifer left his creation, the presence really had no rule over him and couldn't even see through him. He even offered they should exchange mind and memories so that they can both be makers of the creation, but Lucifer disagrees. The presence was impressed that Lucifer could escape his own function, probably so he can see what new thing Lucifer has that made him achieve that, and he can use it for the forces external to him. This is just a theory, by the way, but doesn't change the main context of what I'm talking about. Yes, the presence was created by forces external to him, which would be the overvoid, as the true creator using the collective unconscious to give the presence his function as God of one but many creations on the overvoid, in which the collective unconscious should oversee all and not just one, which it does. Presence indeed does even say he is not his own maker, and none of them can. Now, the presence using the monkey and hand analogy for Lucifer was in reference of Lucifer trying to escape his function while bound by the multiverse. But as we saw after, he was more or less equals with the presence, and no, that hand analogy doesn't signify the presence being the overvoid, but rather saying Lucifer can't get ahead of something he can't escape. Or he could even be talking about the overvoid, in the view of them both not being able to escape it. As after the analogy, he says, they can't be their own maker. Now, you can go watch my DC cosmology videos, but everything up to the source in DC scales to Outer Plus, which I have a tiering system I use, so this would be around inaccessible into Outerversal. Now, as for the Living Tribunal. In my video, I go over his feats, but when I explained how his existence works with the other abstracts, I actually mistakenly had an edit error where I covered the scans. But yes, the Living Tribunal is like a comp Marvel abstract, but on several levels of existence, just as the other abstracts have. I did explain in my Never Queen video and Eternity video that there are avatars or anthropomorphic forms of the abstracts, which was shown in the Quasar comics in a place called the Realm of Manifestation, or the outside where the Living Tribunal talks with the abstracts. And in Marvel, there are many outside realms, to be honest, do not get confused. The abstracts are conceptual eidos that represent unfathomable ideas that help justify the existence we live in. Infinity represents space, but on an infinite scale, and how high does infinity get to? Infinity comes with sets and does reach infinite dimensional sets with other abstracts like matter and energy, which birth entropy and so much more, gravitation, blah blah blah. Then with infinity, you have eternity, which represents time but on several levels as well. And same thing for others like death and oblivion. You add all these, including chaos and order, then you get the Living Tribunal. But they represent the faces, which are necessity, equity, and revenge. Each cosmic abstract has true forms and forms of them that are beyond true forms. Their true forms are forms that are beyond the peak of the multiverse, like the Yggdrasil, but yet these true forms are true because they represent the aspects to most gods and high beings of what these concepts can mean at an existential level and in threats, but beyond such are still levels of existence that make them so-called that make the so-called existence seem like dust. You have the outside, the far shore, the unknown or undefined far shore, the land of couldn't be, shouldn't be, the house of all knowing, the house of ideas, the omnipotent city, the euphoria, and much more. Now, beyond the Yggdrasil or multiverse, at its finest, you have all these higher planes and realms just keep going, but yet these realms still use higher time and space to function, which is where eternity and infinity still take place. Death is still there, and even true death is shown to actually be the Black Winter. True eternity is the Neverqueen. True oblivion is the oblivion we know. And infinity is, well, still infinity on every level. Reason death and time have different beings shown is because there are changing variables that create branches in others, but infinity continues in sets and oblivion just waits for everything to end. But it changes for oblivion when we know Nyx exists, but infinities didn't change, as she represents the infinite concept throughout creation on different levels. Or we are yet to see true infinity, but we have seen death of death, as we can easily make the clear assumption which Occam's razor would support this notion based on the consistency of Living Tribunal representing the abstract in a one true higher form, as an aspect of him was shown with three faces representing the highest form of death, and the abstracts will have such for other concepts. But my final conclusion on the Living Tribunal is that it is the house of ideas itself. Well, having these two face off in an equal stats match is assuming that they both can literally embody beyond abstract ideas. But this isn't inherently the case for the present. In the verse, because the endless in their true nature seriously outrank him. But the present isn't the creator of neither the endless nor the green or any other strong aspect of DC, like the parliament, which have shown to sit above him via the collective unconscious. I mean, just the red via Animal Man can go beyond him through the totem. Talk less of the endless. He only ranks above their anthropomorphic forms within his creation and nothing else. As for the tribunal, even the tribunal's anthropomorphic form cheats on the anthropomorphic forms of the abstracts, because on each level of creation, the anthropomorphic form of the tribunal guides the abstract anthropomorphic forms to keep things in order. The living tribunal in an equal stat match is just above the concept of abstraction, that making this equal stat doesn't seem possible, because both of them are both platonically archetypal, but the tribunal transcends such even in the Jungian reference. But since it's equal stats, we would say they both have such, but nothing changed. That one ranks above that one ranks above abstracts, even though they have conceptual nature beyond archetypal forms. Or the living tribunal could bring out death to kill the present, since they are equal, could bring out oblivion to keep him in a state of abyss, but can't use neither infinity or eternity, because that's what the presence is. So the presence is equal stats in terms of raw power, in his and it's equal, but in terms of lore, gets out-hacked and stumped either way. And trust me, in a non-equal stat scenario, bringing someone dead in his true form is the House of Ideas tier, and an aspect of truest death of him can hold the cosmic egg, which is Picai Autoversal, and holds the green door of the one below all, which is equal to that of Toa from the outside realm, which uses the concept of true love against his equal side of true hate, as Quabala and Klipoth. The living tribunal slaps both equal and non-equal stats, thank you. If you disagree, I want to see good and respectful logical reasoning in the comments below. Please make sure to subscribe, like, and share if you found this informative. See you all next time. Peace.